My family is pressuring me to give my sister, 23, my 28, wedding venue because she needs it more and is pregnant. My fiancé and I have been together for 8 years and engaged for 3. I was doing my PhD program and was juggling planning the wedding. My fiancé took much of that work, but it was perfect because our dream venue was booked till after my graduation. So what we did is book our dream venue 3 years in advance. It is really a beautiful venue. The only slot we got was September of this year. My sister got engaged a few months ago to her fiancé. They were planning on having a spring wedding next year. They had no venue lined up, but had a few vendors lined up as well as a set date. Yesterday, our parents invited us and our siblings to a family barbecue where my sister announced to our extended family that she is expecting. Everyone was so happy for her and my brother-in-law, who was a great guy. My Nan asked my sister if the wedding was still on the set date or if they were going to wait because of the baby. She said no, and that she hoped to move it to September. No big deal. We don't have many out-of-town guests, so they could attend to both weddings no problem. Nan was happy and asked sister if she needed help planning such a short-notice wedding. My sister then turns around and said, "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I was really hoping we could take your venue. I really cannot stress myself too much with planning a wedding while going to maternity classes. And I think it is so beautiful. It would really mean a lot to me." It went silent, but everyone was looking at me expecting me to say, "Yes, of course, everything for my little sister." My brother-in-law looked very uncomfortable and told her that they had talked about this and that it was not okay to put me on the spot. But my sister just said, "Don't be like that. My sister wants to do what's best for me, so no big deal, right?" I just said, "Well, it kind of is. I don't know. I have my heart really set on the venue." Cue the crying for her. She stormed off. Nan told me that I was being selfish because she needed the venue more than I did. I tried to defend myself, and my mother said, "You waited 3 years. Would it have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for something?" A few comments later, my fiancé got really mad and we left. My sister called me crying and said that it was unfair that I always get what I want and that I could have done this one thing for her. Dad said it is just a venue and what matters is the person who you are marrying. He is kind of right. But we have been planning for so long. My fiancé is furious with my family and doesn't even want my sister to come. Now my family is threatening to put a ban on my wedding because I am being selfish and my sister needs it more than me because having a baby is too stressful. Later, my brother-in-law called me and apologized for the inconvenience. He told me he had discussed it with my sister, and she had told him she would not ask. He is properly mad with her now and has warned me that my sister is blaming me for potentially ruining her marriage. My father has sent me about 5 texts along the lines of, "I hope you are happy your sister hasn't stopped crying since yesterday," and so on and so on. My fiancé and I have decided to boot my sister from the bridal party and replace her with my aunt, who is the only family member that took my side. We have not decided whether or not we will invite my family as a whole. Furthermore, my mom took it upon her to tell on us. She called fiancé's parents and told them that it would be best if my sister gets it because she is pregnant and preeclampsia runs in the family. Whatever that means. My future father-in-law told them to fuck off and basically ripped my mom a new one for expecting something so ridiculous and that they were going to lose me if they keep playing favorites. So my mom is now crying too and saying that my father-in-law is an ass. This is just getting so pathetic. It seems straight out of a bad soap opera. My in-laws are driving to us currently with some supper and wine and basically told me to not worry and that no matter what happens that they will be my safety net. I cried of happiness.
Am I the asshole for taking my kids away from their grandparents? For some context, I am 42M and my wife is 39F and we have 2 kids who are 10M and 7F. My son and daughter are everything for me. However, for the past 5 years or so, since before COVID and a bit after, I worked overseas and I rarely came home. I am a petroleum engineer and work on offshore rigs. I came home maybe 4 times in the past 5 years, only staying for a week max. My kids basically think of me as a stranger, and that is not their fault, it is mine. But everything I do is to provide for them, and my wife works overtime and I cannot even begin to express how much I appreciate her for that. She has been so understanding. We need the money, hence why I do what I do. The issue, I recently came back and switched to an on-site desk job, about a month or 2 ago. My kids are still shy around me, and I want to get to know them better. My kids recently started coming out of their shell, and they usually spend a couple weekends per month at my in-laws' place, whenever my wife has to work weekends. My wife had to work this weekend, and told me on Thursday I asked my kids if they want to spend this weekend with me instead of their grandparents. No pressure, of course. I did want to incentivize them staying though, so I promised ice cream after dinner both days, and a fast food lunch both with my wife's permission. My son accepted immediately, and my daughter had to be bribed with a later bedtime on Saturday. Wife approved once again. I just did this because I want to spend more time with my kids. I know I cannot make up for the times I've missed, but I don't want to miss any more. However, my in-laws called me yesterday and gave me an earful about how I'm interrupting their time with their grandkids and how I am breaking their tradition. I told them I just wanted to spend time with my kids, and next time my wife has to work the weekend I will send them over for sure to make up for it. They said I should find my own time to hang out with them and make traditions with them, and not interfere with what's going on. They accused me to bribing my kids for affection, partially true I guess, and for taking their grandkids away from them. They also called me a deadbeat, which I feel wasn't fair since I didn't want to be away. My job made me, and I was constantly sending every penny I could back home. Had my kids still said no, I would have sent them to their grandparents. I did bribe them, but it's just with school and everything. I barely get time with them and weekends are the best. And with my wife on her business trip too, I get one-on-one time with them. I was just so excited and may have gotten carried away. My wife is going to stay neutral on this, but aita for interrupting their grandparent time. Am I the asshole for canceling my aunt's invitation to my wedding when she traveled the world to attend it? My husband and I, 26, got married 3 weeks ago. My husband is from South Africa but I am French, so our wedding in the savannah in South Africa was a huge trip for the 13 French guests. We rented a beautiful lodge where you see lions, elephants, etc. and to thank everyone for coming all this way, we rented it for 2 days. Day 1, wedding. Day 2, pool party. We only invited 30 people, the people we love. I had a huge argument with my aunt, 38, 8 years ago, and we cut ties ever since. But doing the invitations, I thought about how close we used to be. I decided to invite her. There was no +1 for anyone and so I only invited my aunt, not her partner or her kids since I barely knew their names. My aunt said she was happy but insisted that we invite them. I told her no, but my mom teamed with her and pressured me a lot during the year. I explained that the ceremony meant everything to us and that we only want people we love to be present. But my aunt booked flights not only for her but also for her family. She said it was a family trip but added that she heard some of my guests cancelled and so that there is now space for her family. I told her that it would not be happening but that her family could join us for the pool party the next day. After that, I got even more pressured by my mom into inviting them for the wedding itself because so-called they are coming all this way. But I kept refusing and tried to finish my dress without my mom. On the big day, after the ceremony, my husband and I left for an hour in the savannah with the photographers, to make a few photos. As soon as we came back to the lodge, my aunt came to me, smirking. She was holding her kid, her partner was behind her. I'm not the scandal type, I didn't know how to react. In my disbelief, I kissed the kid hello and shook hand with her partner. I immediately felt sad for not defending myself. I then heard my mom and grandma telling my aunt about the extra chairs and food we had, and that her family must stay for dinner. My sister lied for me, saying we don't have enough chairs because some are broken, causing my aunt to announce that they were leaving. I asked why leaving with them. She was supposed to stay for the dinner and they are only 5 minutes away. She replied that she never intended to stay for dinner but that she will spend time with us when they come back tomorrow for the pool party day. I was shocked. Also, the wedding took place in a private reserve, which means the gates close at 9 p.m. Our lodge had a max capacity of 10, so I was hosting with for 3 nights, for free, 8 guests, my mom and grandma included, but the other guests had to find their own accommodation. And to avoid being forced leaving early to make the gate, they needed to find accommodation inside the reserve, and it was tough because there isn't many. In the end my mother-in-law did not find one and neither did my aunt. But at the last minute a cheap cute Airbnb got available and I was the one to find it. I talked about it and my aunt said she needed it or else she would not stay for the dinner at all. She said that it was because I didn't invite her partner, she didn't want to drive all the way out of the reserve alone in the dark so she would leave at 5 p.m. max, unless I give her the Airbnb, I found, instead of giving it to my mother-in-law. Though it was a fair ask and sent it to her on the spot, and so she booked it. However, when she said that she never intended to stay for the dinner, it was another weird power move against me. So I replied that I had a change of plans and that she and her family could not come for the next day anymore. My mom, usually lovely, lost it and told me that I had no right to cancel my aunt's invitation to the pool party. I reminded her that we paid for the whole wedding ourselves and that she has no say in who I host, and I walked away, but she yelled at my back in front of everyone. She was screaming that the conversation was not over and that I better come back. My sister had to physically bar my mom from running after me. I still stood my ground and kept my aunt from coming back the next day. Am I the asshole?